Throughout history, societies have devised countless methods to carry out the ultimate punishment: execution. These methods varied widely across cultures, reflecting the values, technological advancements, and sometimes the cruelty of the times. One of the most infamous execution methods, crucifixion, was used by the ancient Romans. Victims were nailed or tied to a wooden cross, often left to die a slow and agonizing death. This method was not only used for criminals but also for political dissidents, and its most famous victim was Jesus Christ. Crucifixion was designed to inflict immense physical suffering and public humiliation, serving as a chilling warning to others. Fast forward to the late 18th century in France, where the guillotine became the symbol of the French Revolution. Invented as a more humane method of execution, it was designed to be quick and efficient. The condemned person would kneel before a blade that would swiftly drop, severing the head from the body in one clean motion. Though initially seen as a more merciful form of execution, it became synonymous with the reign of terror, where thousands met their end under its blade. Hanging is one of the oldest methods of execution, used by civilizations from the ancient Egyptians to the British Empire. While the technique evolved, the principle remained the same. A noose was placed around the neck, and the victim was either dropped or strangled. Hanging was often considered a public spectacle, intended to deter crime by showing the consequences of wrongdoing. However, depending on the execution style, it could be either quick or prolonged and agonizing. By the 20th century, the firing squad emerged as a common execution method. In this method, a group of soldiers or officers would be tasked with shooting the condemned person, typically aiming at the heart or head. The method was considered more humane than others because death could be instant. However, there was often a psychological element involved, as one or more shooters were given blank rounds to alleviate the guilt of the executioners. Beheading has been practiced across various cultures, from ancient civilizations to monarchies. In medieval Europe, it was often seen as a noble form of execution for aristocrats. With an axe or sword, the executioner would strike the neck, severing the head from the body. While it was a relatively quick method, it required precision and skill. The most brutal and gruesome methods was the breaking wheel, used in medieval Europe. The condemned was tied to a large wooden wheel, their limbs shattered by the executioner, before being left to die in public. This method was designed to inflict maximum pain, and it was used as a public display to deter crime. It often took hours for the victim to die, and it became a symbol of medieval cruelty. In the 20th century, the electric chair became infamous as a modern method of execution. First used in the United States in the 1890s, the condemned person was strapped into a chair and subjected to a fatal electric current. Though initially intended to be a humane alternative to hanging, the electric chair often resulted in prolonged suffering due to malfunctioning equipment. Despite this, it remained in use for decades. Today, lethal injection is the most common method of execution in the United States. The condemned is injected with a combination of drugs that induces unconsciousness, paralysis, and ultimately death. While considered by some to be the most humane method, lethal injection has been controversial, particularly due to issues with drug availability and botched executions. Ancient Rome to the modern era, methods of execution have evolved, but the practice remains a contentious issue. While some argue for the death penalty as a deterrent to crime, others question its morality and effectiveness in an evolving world. Ultimately, the history of executions is a reminder of the dark and complicated relationship between society and justice. As we look to the future, the question remains: how will the world choose to deal with those who break its laws?